Welcome to This Week in Money. I'm Jim Goddard. Today, Ross Clark from chartsandmarkets.com runs down the major markets. The latest uptrends appear to be driven by industrials, financials, transports, while streaming services take a big hit. The US dollar is also on the rise. Publisher of the Trends Journal, Gerald Celente, looks at what he expects to drive our economy over the next while. He talks about vaccines, gold, real estate, and what he calls dragflation. Robert Campbell, publisher of the realestatetiming.com newsletter, checks in from San Diego. Is the sky really the limit for the latest real estate boom? And what could be the signs of hyperinflation? Plus, at the end of the show, we'll have a company showcase update from American Manganese President Larry Reaugh. We'll talk to Ross Clark right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome to This Week in Money, the source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Ross Clark from chartsandmarkets.com, where you'll find insightful market commentary and timely technical analysis. You can find him on Twitter at ChartsByRoss. Welcome back to This Week in Money, Ross.
Always a pleasure to be back, Jim.
Ross, what's leading the stock markets this week?
Well, I mean, it's still been the industrials, financials, the transports, the REITs. These are the ones that started to come to life back in the fourth quarter of last year, and they've had some small pauses, but they're basically they kissed back and maybe tested the January, February highs this last week, but have held in exceptionally well. Whereas if you go over to the NASDAQ or even to the S&P, having a pretty tough time over there, really gaining some big upside momentum. So this very much reminiscent of the 21 years ago when the dot-com bubble kind of blew out into April of 2000, and then we just thrashed around until the end of the summer as far as the NASDAQ was concerned. But in the meantime, the industrials, and the good dividend-paying stocks started to come to life, and they'd had a pretty good second and third quarter back in 2000. You're seeing the same type of thing right now. Higher interest rates are helping the financials. The spreads that the banks have got working for them right now. They can borrow cheaply and they can lend out at a far better rate than they were doing. So nice money to the bottom line. And then the other sector which had been very, very strong here in the first quarter of this year was energies, with oil making it up to $65-67. And was it 2 weeks ago we got these big exhaustion readings on the weekly charts on most of the energy stocks, definitely on crude oil, and we're looking for a 7 to 10% break, and for the stocks to give back a good half of the gains from the late January lows. And we saw that this week. Most of the energy stocks look as though they've had a pretty good first sort of washout. I think there's more consolidation still to be had here before the next leg up. But I think that, the hardest part of the correction on the energy stocks is probably behind us right now.
That giant cargo ship, the biggest in the world, 220,000 tons, stuck in the Suez Canal. People are saying, well, it's not an oil ship. Why should it affect energy prices? But most of Europe's oil gets shipped through the Suez Canal. And
it does, and the longer they take to resolve this situation, the worse it becomes. But they will get it done. There's no question about that. The biggest problem that you got out there with oil these days is the fact that the whole shale game in the U.S. has come to an end. And all the surplus oil that we used to see that was created from that is no longer, being a source for the Western countries. So, once we get this hiccup out of the way in oil, I think you're looking still at pretty much higher levels, and but they get that the Suez cleared out and get all those ships that are backed up pushing through there. The economic engine will continue to merrill along here, and especially with you got that 1.9 trillion that influx into the economy, and now you've got this potential $3 trillion sitting out there as far as the U.S. stimulus package is concerned. There's just so much that is being put to try and keep everything afloat. And we've seen this before. The harder that a break is in anything, and whether it was the crash in 87 or dot-coms or the housing implosion into 08, 09, when the forces behind the scenes start to put money in to bring everything back, it's just amazing how far it can go.
The U.S. dollar index, what's it doing?
Nice base here. So, we got good capitulation readings at the end of December, got a retest of the lows in January through the end of February, and then March was a pretty nice looking breakout. So this is a classic basing pattern. Dollar index at this point is nicely broken out, had one small setback. We call it a springboard, the first time that you've had a sign of weakness, a sign of strength on the move out of a bottom, and you get that pullback. We consider that to be a springboard that then can really be the next phase of what would be a prolonged uptrend, and that's where the U.S. dollar is at this point. And, if we look at things like the euro dollar, it's rolled over as the U.S. dollar has turned up, as you would expect, and it's crossed below its 20-week moving average as of this last week. We've got, I think it's, I counted? I think it was like 15 or 16 examples since the euro started trading on its own back in 1989. And all but 3 of those saw declines in the euro that went on for a number of months. So that would then fit nicely with the pattern the bullish pattern we see on the U.S. dollar. And then for those of us north of the 49th parallel, this is not good because a strong U.S. dollar inevitably means that the Canadian dollar is going to come under pressure. Here was a month ago, we got big overbought readings and told people to lighten up on their Canadian dollar positions because we would probably go sideways for a while. And it's been a full month since we were 79.5 to 80 cents. We've gone nowhere, and it looks as though it's about ready to roll over. Anything maybe closer to 77.5 or 77 could be a pretty good long-term buying opportunity, but that's probably in the second half of this year. It's not on the horizon right now.
What happened to streaming services on the stock markets?
Oh, these have been the darlings of since the COVID situation came into play. Things like Viacom, which this was a sub $20 stock. Actually, probably almost a $10 stock March of a year ago. Just gained momentum just progressively through the fall. Paid $100 the early part of this week, and then just fell apart. Closed the week at 48 with a low of 40. The same type of action over in Discovery. So it's, when you take a look at the items that were the big beneficiaries out of COVID, such as most stocks like Cargojet, with the lack of available space in passenger airlines, because not as many planes were up there, Cargojet just had a fabulous run. And late last year, we got upside exhaustion signals in 3 of our time frames, daily, weekly, and monthly. So it looked vulnerable, and it's had a fairly dramatic drop here. It's given back half of the whole run since March of last year. You take a look at so many of those FANG stocks, the Facebooks, Amazons, that they all topped out in the fourth quarter of last year, and the money that has been taken out of those has found its way into the sector rotation that we're seeing in the industrials, financials, the transports, those sectors. So there's only, for all that there's been some stimulus money coming into the market, I think most of what's really going on out there is a rotation. And if anything, this is a period right now where you really want to be watching individual stocks and individual sectors rather than broad market moves, because that's where the money's going to be made in the near term.
Ross, thank you so much for being on This Week in Money.
Good to be with you, Jim.
My guest has been Ross Clark from chartsandmarkets.com. You can find him on Twitter at ChartsByRoss. Coming up, Gerald Celente, next on This Week in Money.
Always consult your investment professional before making any investment decision.
AMY Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, AMY's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at AMYresources.com.
This Week in Money is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Welcome back. My guest is Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, available online at trendsjournal.com. He's speaking to us from historic Kingston, New York. Gerald, it's great to have you back on This Week in Money.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, we always say historic Kingston, New York, maybe for people not familiar with your community. Why is it so historic?
Well, this was the third Dutch settlement, and there were more pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings in Kingston than anywhere else in the United States. And also, I have buildings on the most historic Four Corners, the only place where there are pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings on each corner, and I have 3 of them. And I bought them to launch Occupy Peace. This was the first capital of New York State, and then the British burnt it down. The Constitution that was written for New York State, over 70% of America's Constitution comes from the Constitution that was written here, right across the street from me over here at the courthouse. And John Jay, the first Supreme Court Justice, was also a judge over here where they wrote the Constitution for the state. And so too are 4 other Supreme Court judges. So it's very steeped in history over here. And it's become the place where people from New York City are now escaping. According to Bloomberg, the property values here have gone up over 18%, because New York City is now dead. They destroyed it. Between the governor and the mayor, it's dead town. No neon lights shining bright on Broadway. You want to see a homeless situation, take a trip down there. So a lot of people are moving out of the city. The office occupancy rate in New York City is at the grand total of 14%.
What could they do with those office towers? Could they become vertical farms, or do you just rip them down?
No, they're talking about turning them into rental apartments. But there's an oversupply already. And it's going to take years for New York City to come back.
Your new issue of Trends Journal is titled Vaccine Money. What does that mean, and how many pages are in this issue?
Oh, God, about 140-something pages, and it's a weekly. And it's, it's vaccines and money. We got the money junkies on the money end, and you got the drug dealers on the vaccination end. So you got drug dealers and money junkies, and they're going to save the world. And that's so what we do is we only put the facts in there. I mean, here you are up in Canada. You got another little arrogant little daddy's boy born on third base and thought he had a home run, Trudeau. Nothing true about that doughboy, just like we got this little Andy Cuomo, another little arrogant daddy's boy. Here are the facts. According to Lancet, 80% of the people that have died from the COVID are from nursing homes in Canada. So what are you locking down the whole place for? I'll tell you why. Because we're power-hungry, moronic, disgusting freaks called politicians. And we got these little low-life bureaucrats. That's right, bureaucrats. These are people that never work a day in their life, that suck off the political tit to get the job. And they're telling everybody what to do. What do you got, that moronic health minister over there telling you to wear a mask when you're having sex? Yeah, how about using sanitizer when you masturbate? You got a bunch of jerks running and destroying the world. And this is unprecedented in world history. Now they're locking down Europe again. The damage that's been done is far greater than the COVID war. And it's the COVID war, that's what they called it. And just like these murderous lowlives start wars with no exit strategy, they did the same with the COVID war. And now every year we're going to hear, oh, how many people died? Oh, how many people died? Guess what? People die. You got it? People die. And the people that are dying from this, again, the facts are all there. 94% of the people that have died from the COVID have 2.6 pre-existing comorbidities. Oh, obesity, it's a big one. Guess why they're dying in America? Can't be because 42% of the Americans are obese. Hey, the English, you British, you're right behind us, and you're dying at the same kind of rate. Oh, what happened over there in Sweden? Hey, study just came out. Their death rate is lower than most of the world, and they didn't lock down at all. Oh, and by the way, their life expectancy rate is much higher than in the United States. United States is about 78%. It's 82% over there. No one talks about getting in good health. No one in the mainstream media. All they do is sell, get that vaccination.
Yeah, you don't hear much about lose weight and exercise and stop smoking.
Yeah, or eating healthy.
Yeah.
No, nothing. And by the way, the obesity levels have gone up. And the suicide rates have gone up, depression levels have gone up, and for what? For disease, a virus that's killing mostly elderly people. They locked down Germany again. The average age of the deaths in Germany is 79 years old. In America, people 1 to 20 years old, the recovery rate, CDC numbers, 99.997%. And you got little kids with masks on freaking them out because you got a bunch of freaks running the show in a country near you.
Florida has fully opened up. Should the rest of the U.S. and Canada follow?
Of course they should. Again, Sweden, take a look. Same with Florida. Why do you think young people went nuts during spring break? They're young and they're vital, and they want to be free, and they're being locked up.
Do you think Agenda 2030 and the Great Reset will be successful in controlling people by using the climate change scare narrative next?
They're going to use any scare narrative they can. Again, one of our covers of the Trends Journal, people dumb enough to believe Bush's war, dumb enough to believe the COVID war. People were so damn stupid, they believed another low-life piece of crap, another daddy's boy, another arrogant little boy, George W. Bush, lying the people into the Iraq war. Oh, that was only 18 years ago, and it didn't make one piece of coverage for the anniversary that just happened. That's how stupid people are. They march off to Mussolini. They salute Stalin. They Heil Hitler. They'll do anything they're told. Don't forget to get vaccinated.
Well, we keep hearing more and more that the entire COVID narrative makes no sense, and evil people are trying to control the people of the world. Do you think people are starting to wake up to this?
Very few. Very few. A lot of people are. Again, look at the Trends Journal. Look at all the protests that went on over the last week and a half. But it's a minority. But it does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men, said Samuel Adams. So that's what you have going on. It's going to take a new movement.
Do you have any idea what kind of a movement, what it would look like?
It has to be a movement that's not involved with the political systems. And I believe direct democracy, as they have in Switzerland, where the people vote. These arrogant little boys and girls called politicians, many ticks, sucking the blood out of our lives and our money because they don't have to work. They have direct democracy. Public servants. Can anybody get those two words in their head? Public servants. You got public servants telling the people what to do. Direct democracy, the people tell the servants what to do. And that to me is the only way out. And you could do it with blockchain technology. Blockchain can't be hacked. They transfer trillions of dollars in milliseconds. We could vote online with blockchain technology. Look at the stupid, ignorant voting system that they just showed the world in America with the 2020 elections. How dumb can anybody be to believe that crap?
How high can the Dow go, do you think?
It's a rigged game. Again, it's money junkies and drug dealers. They both will do anything to stay on their high. How could the markets go up when the world is going down? The whole game is rigged. As George Carlin said, it's one big club and you ain't in it. Hey, Easter's coming up. And many nations, they're not allowing people to get together to celebrate Easter. Oh, Easter, yeah. What's Easter? Oh, didn't they, that got Jesus Christ? Oh, yeah, they didn't allow to celebrate Christmas either. Oh, that guy, Jesus Christ, you mean the Jesus Christ that grabbed a whip to drive the money changers out of the temple? Oh, the money changers are still in charge. They're the Goldman Sachs gang, the JP Morgan Chase. How many times do they get fined for fraud? Oh, what happened to Christ 3 days later? Up on the cross. You don't mess with the drug dealers or the money junkies.
This massive stimulus where governments all around the planet are printing money like crazy and just throwing it out the door, is that going to continue?
Yes. They're going to do anything they can, and they're going to come up with new currencies. And they're going to come up with digital currencies so they could get every penny that they want from us. And they'll be able to track it, where you spent it, how you spent it, what you spent it on, no tips. You got to put all that on there, so they got the politicians don't want to work. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate at 26 years old. I've been around. I've been with presidents, prime ministers, and princes. These are the people I hated in high school and college that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. They don't work. So they're going to come up with a new currency so they don't have to keep working, and they can keep creating the fraud in front of us to keep the scam going. And they're going to do it with the digital currencies because they've just destroyed the reality of life with all of this fake money that they're printing.
With all this money printing going on, why is gold being ignored?
It's not being ignored. People are going into the cryptocurrencies, and that's taken a lot of money out of it. Younger generations, it's the crypto world. But there's going to be a time when they're going to clamp down on crypto. Look, by the way, we're already seeing China moving big time into digital currencies. They're spending billions of dollars setting up systems for digital payments. So they're going to ban I believe at some point they're going to do away with the cryptos. So the money that's going into cryptos isn't going into gold and silver.
I would fear governments having cryptocurrency. Just simply here in Canada, the Canadian Revenue Agency, the taxation people, they've canceled 1 million accounts claiming, oh, we were hacked. No, they were probably hacked, and now you can't get back on. It's tax season. You're supposed to file, but you can't get in. I'm waiting for the cops to knock on the door saying you didn't file your taxes. The government canceled my account. If I had 100 government digital currency dollars in my hand, would they just say, oh, our computer broke, you don't have that money anymore?
Yeah. Look, they'll do anything. They'll do anything. They'll do anything. Look at the COVID cops. These tough little boys and girls breaking up because they're having meetings and things and fining them thousands of dollars. So they're going to do anything. It's total loss of freedom, peace, and justice. It's gone right in front of our eyes.
Gerald, what did you think of what happened in London where thousands of women came out to protest violence against women and the cops beat them up and arrested them?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Now they passed a new law in the UK. You better put an FU and a C in that one, because that's who they become. That way they're going to give the police even more power to stop protests. Freedom is gone.
Does it look like silver is going to echo gold?
I would think silver is going to go at a higher rate of increase because it's used in, it's the best electricity conductor, and you need it in high tech and heavy industry. And also, after you throw out your computer or your keyboard, whatever, there's no stockpile. It goes into the dump. So they're going to have to they need silver. So silver right now to us is way underpriced, and we think it's going to go over $50 an ounce by the end of the year. And we still maintain our $2,100 an ounce of gold.
Are you bullish on the U.S. dollar?
It's hard to say. The only reason the dollar's going up is because the other currencies are going down so poorly. I mean, look what's going on around the world, whether it's Japan, their economy's going. Look at the Japanese markets over the last week or so. And, of course, the Turkish lira just hit an all-time low. And the Eurozone, they're locking down again. So the dollar's only going up because the other ones are so weak. We believe China, at some point, the Chinese yuan is going to start taking over and gaining much more strength against the dollar.
We'll have more with Gerald Celente when This Week in Money returns.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMY.ZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
This Week in Money is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Gerald Celente. Gerald, if all major currencies hyperinflate at the same time, does it count as hyperinflation?
Of course it does. It's going to happen. What's going to happen is that it's costing more to buy everything virtually. And now your currencies get lower. And so now it takes more of your money to buy things that the prices are going up. So we call it dragflation. And dragflation means the economies are going to go down while prices go up and currencies go down. So we are in a very, 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 very different scenario where this thing could explode at any point. And I'll give you an example of the how. If tensions keep increasing in the Middle East, right now we're seeing oil prices going down from the $70 a barrel for Brent crude high down to the low 60s. If tensions break out in the Middle East and oil prices spike, that's going to be the end of everything. And this is very important. You asked me earlier about are the equity markets going to go down. They're going to do everything they can to keep the equity markets up. Because when the equity markets crash, then Main Street will understand how really bad it is. Right now, there's a facade out there in Wall Street that things are going good because equity markets are going up. So but on the hyperinflation we're in a very risky situation where that could explode at any time.
Do you think a bull market is starting for interest rates?
Yes, it's going to, and that's why you're seeing commodity prices keep going up, because more and more people are going into commodities because they think that interest rates are going to go up because inflation is going to go up. So they're going to do everything they can to keep interest rates down. The Federal Reserve in the United States is, signaling to at least 2024. But if inflation starts spiking, they're going to have to raise interest rates.
Can the Fed really control what happens with interest rates beyond, say, a year or two?
Yeah, they're in total control. They'll make up anything they want to do. So even if interest rates, inflation skyrockets, they're going to very, very slowly push up interest rates because they need the cheap money into the system so the gamblers could keep gambling. The people in debt, the big corporations could keep borrowing to cover their debt load. So they have to keep the cheap money flow going. So they're going to do anything they can. And they'll make up a story, and they'll rig the inflation numbers just like they're rigging them now. Oh, housing prices have gone up all over the country. I just mentioned in Kingston over here, they're up 18%. Guess what? Housing prices aren't included in the inflation index. They're making the numbers up, and they'll keep changing them. They keep lying. They're murderers and thieves.
Is real estate getting into bubble territory?
Yes, in a lot of places it is. But on the other level, it's going to keep going down. Commercial real estate prices are going to keep going down as less people return to work and more people are working at home, less commuting. And look, in New York City before, in 2019, before the COVID war began, you go up Park Avenue, Fifth Avenue, West Village, the hottest places in town, for rent. That's before this happened. So yes, there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be a bubble burst at some point. But where the people have moved into to get away from the city, no, those prices are not going to go down much.
We're hearing about shortages of a number of things, including food. Wolf Richter said we have a shortage of semiconductors, which means you can't finish building a car because there's like 300 semiconductors in the modern car. We have a shortage of plastics caused by the Texas freeze. What are you hearing about shortages, including food?
Well, again, I don't know if there's going to be a food shortage, but I believe, look at lumber prices. It costs $24,000 more a year. $24,000 more in a year to build a house because of the just increase in lumber prices. So, shortage, yes. And as the COVID war keeps raging on, there's going to be more and more restrictions and more shortages. And again, it goes back to hyperinflation.
What are you hearing about what could be the world's largest cargo ship, the Evergreen, stuck in the Suez Canal?
Yeah, and just another example of incompetency and stupidity, and look at the size of the damn thing. It's all about money. And again, it shows you the ineffectiveness of government-run operations. The morons are in control. Not only government, but it's, on the private sector as well. It's only the bottom line that counts. And this is a bottom line example of this huge thing in a canal that was built when, The canal wasn't built for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's 220,000 tons.
Yeah, what a surprise.
And shocked. Longer than 4 football fields.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The canal wasn't built for this. Again, it's the arrogance, the ignorance, and the greed. Look at the cover of the Trends Journal. Vaccinations and money. Drug dealers and money junkies.
Are we in World War III?
Not yet, but the Chinese are going to be in control for the 21st century. There's no doubt about it. And there's no way the Americans or the Europeans are going to fight them. America can't even win a war in Afghanistan. They lost in Iraq. Oh, we would have won in Vietnam. We only killed 3 million people and poisoned the place with Agent Orange. If they would have allowed us to drop an atom bomb on them, then we could have won. All right? America hasn't won a war since World War II, and they wouldn't have won World War II without the Russians. They're not going to beat the Chinese. So there's not going to be a World War III unless it happens in the Middle East with countries like Saudi Arabia, Israel, Iran, that kind of conflict going on in that area. But the Chinese are smart enough to know that they're not going to go into war, and Americans know that they're not going to beat the Chinese.
What are President Biden's accomplishments so far?
What are his accomplishments? Nothing. What accomplishments? What do they do? They pump. I love this number, by the way. This shows you what bunch of frauds they are. They pumped in $1.9 trillion with a T, right, to juice the economy. That's like saying $99.99. How about $2 trillion? Oh, and you just brought the budget deficit up to $28 trillion. What are they doing? They're nothing. They're doing nothing. It's accomplishments.
Who do you think is really the president of the U.S.?
The military-industrial complex. It's with Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, supreme commander of the Allied forces in World War II, and 2-term president, warned on January 21st, 1963, in his farewell address to the nation, when he warned that the military-industrial complex is robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. And it happened. That's what I said. The 21st century is going to be the Chinese century, the business of China's business, the business of America's war. And when you look at China, the business of China is business. So, that's who's in control. I mean, look what's going on. I mean, it's in, you're hearing Biden now talking about not pulling out of Afghanistan until, we don't know when. Biden plans to stay in Afghanistan beyond May 1st, when the deal was that they were going to pull out. What are we doing there? We got to get that guy, Saddam, that guy Osama bin Laden. We're going to get him dead or alive. That's the ignorance of the American people believing that line from a murderer who should be in Guantanamo, George W. Bush, and all the other slimy people that supported the lie. But that doesn't come up. And we knew it was a lie. And so did others, Scott Ritter and many others. So now, what did Biden accomplish? What has he ever accomplished in his life? Guy's been sucking off the public tit since he's 30 years old. He never worked a day in his life. When they were interviewing that guy Blinken to bring him on as U.S. Secretary, Congress, they asked him, where did this $22 trillion come from China for the Biden school in the University of Pennsylvania? Who in China gave him the $22 million? You know what Blinken said? Go screw yourself. I'm not going to answer you. I don't have to answer you. Don't you know who I am? I'm a member of the club, the murderous club of America. They sold out the country. They gave China all the heavy industry, all the high tech that they needed. Europe did the same thing. Biden, what has Biden done? 3 strikes, you're out. Put everybody in jail. Oh, that was Biden, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, NAFTA, that was Biden. Oh, the GATT treatment. Yeah, that one too. What has Biden done? He suck off the public tit. That's all he's ever done. That's all he's doing now. And he's out of it. Look at, none of the major media showed him falling up the stairs, going up the airplane. The guy's out of his mind. He's gone. He's been gone forever. It's one loser after another. Look at the liar Trump. Oh yeah, I'm going to build a wall. Oh yeah, we're going to rebuild the infrastructure. Didn't do anything. Oh, we're going to defeat China in the trade war. What trade war? Your your trade deficit now is bigger than it was in 2016. They're all a bunch of freaks running the show.
Are you going to get the vaccine and...
No way.
And a vaccine passport?
No way. Well, they didn't... Look at what's going on. The AstraZeneca vaccine in Europe, but a lot of places are closing it down. They didn't test the damn thing. It usually takes 10 to 12 years to test a vaccination. Operation Warp Speed. Yeah, you gotta have a warped head to believe in warp speed. They're drug dealers. You got it?
Is the electric vehicle market likely to continue to grow?
It's going to keep growing, but it's not going to grow at the rate that they're saying until they come up with a better technology than the battery. The batteries, it was invented in 1800. They'd have to have a better, it costs too much to buy them. And, when you look at the end result, they're not, yes, they're they're better in reducing carbons to some extent, but overall, you got where you're getting all of the product to build the batteries from, what damage is it doing in the countries where you're pulling it all out from. So they need a better technology. Until we go with a new technology, and now, by the way, on the gasoline front, the car's becoming, more efficient. So it's going to be a while. You're only looking now at the very peak. 4% of the vehicles sold in this year so far have been electric. Only 4%. So that means 96% are still, regular gas vehicles.
Are you thinking of getting an electric vehicle?
No. Like I have a 1994 Audi convertible. I don't like all this electric stupid crap. I wish I had roll-up windows. I gotta have electric windows and the damn thing breaks and I gotta bring it and, spend all this money. That's moronic. All the electric crap in cars. Stupid.
Yeah, I see the new Escalade. The entire dashboard is one big computer screen.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Everybody with a brain bigger than a pea. Again, as a guy, who grew up in the old days, my father, may rest in peace, right away tell me when we're driving at night, is he teaching me how to drive, lower the lights inside the car so you can see better outside. The more brightness you have inside the car, the less you can see outside because you're brightening it up. And now you go inside a car, it's like being inside, you're sitting inside of a movie theater if the damn thing is so lit up. And it's a distraction as well. No, it's moronic. The high tech has taken over. The geeks have inherited the earth. They got it wrong in the King James Bible when they said the meek shall inherit the earth.
What are the latest trends you're watching?
Oh, God, everything. From the youth revolutions going on in Myanmar and Uganda and in Thailand, and the collapsing economies in Lebanon, Turkey, with their lira going into all-time lows. We're looking around the world, and it's not the Ethiopian war. What's going on in Tigray, Eritrea, in Mali. And what we mention all of this, what's going on in South America, is you're going to have huge immigration problems. You're only going to escalate as the global economy goes down. And then where are the markets going? Where's gold going? Where's Bitcoin going? We're looking at the world. And there's no magazine we're putting out. Nothing comes close to it.
We're hearing the forced lockdowns are leading to urban decay, either by accident or by design. What are you hearing?
The urban decay is happening. Again, we look at homicide rates. Again, we said this was going to happen a year ago. A year ago. When people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And so, urban decay is going to continue for a while. And now with the new world of people working at home, you're going to have less commuting. And all the businesses that depended on commuting are going to be going down. And there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to be forced vaccinated, so tourism is going to go down. And that's going to hit more of urban decay.
There are rumors that Canada's about to have a federal election. There's concerns about massive voter fraud around the world. Is there anything Canada can do to make sure we don't have voter fraud?
Yes, blockchain technology. This is a stupid, ignorant system that we have that's controlled by slimy little low-life pieces of garbage crap politicians. We need blockchain voting. If banks could transfer trillions of dollars in milliseconds, we can vote safely online with blockchain. All of the Bitcoin, blockchain has blocked it. It works. The system we have is antiquated. You gotta wait online to go vote with these crappy moronic systems that they have. Grow the hell up, people, and stop taking the crap from these morons that have destroyed life right in front of our eyes and continue to do so.
We interviewed a doctor who was concerned about people being deprived of oxygen because of face masks, and it makes people stupid. Have you heard anything about that?
Look, we've been writing about the face mask problem since they've been putting on. Go back and read the November study from Denmark about the ineffectiveness. Yes, of course, you're not supposed to keep breathing in your carbon dioxide. And then look what else is going on. Oh, look for the CDC numbers. Oh, you know how effective they are wearing these in restaurants? They bring down the infection rate 1.32%. Wow, 1.32%? And I gotta wear this crap?
What's the latest health news?
Oh, we have Gary Null, who's we have health trends in the Trends Journal each week, and Gary Null is one of the top guys. He's way ahead of this on natural healing, and so every week we have different health information in the Trends Journal, and we also have Survivalism on how to fight and protect yourself by Bradley Steiner. One of the top, he was the number one close combat expert in America. He was my teacher's close combat. My teacher, John Perkins, not the John Perkins with the other guy. It was John Perkins from attackproof.com. And we put articles in Bradley Steiner in the Trends Journal each week, too. Survivalism is real. Yeah, look what's going on. And particularly, look at the imbecilic people attacking Asians and blaming them on the virus. That's like going after Americans, if you're an American, because of all the wars that America's started. Why blame the people? So, people better learn how to protect themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually, in every way they can, because this thing's going down big and hard. That's why I'm at the level I'm speaking at now. You think I want to be like this? I'm a visionary. I will put my work against anybody's in the world. Show me your books. Show me your magazines. Show me what you've been doing for the last 40 years, and then we can begin to talk. I see the future, and it's hell on earth, brought to you by Little Trudeau, Nothing Gruesome Newsome in California, Arrogant Andy Cuomo, Gaston Macron over in France, Merkel, Heil Merkel, one after another around the world destroying our lives. And if people don't stand up and fight for freedom, you're going to be living hell on earth. And to go down because of these little clown boys and girls are bringing you down, to me it's a disgrace. And I held a big rally here on the 4th of July last year it was the biggest one in America. And they all told me I couldn't do it, and I did it anyway. So I fight. I put my money and my heart where my mouth is. So if people don't do anything, you deserve what you got. All aboard, next train to Auschwitz, and put on your mask.
What's your latest globalnomic view?
Oh, again, it's complicated. It's in the Trends Journal.
How can people subscribe to the Trends Journal?
Simple, trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. The only magazine where you're going to read history before it happens. We tell you what's going on, what's next, and what it means. And we're helping people prepare and prevail and prosper in the times ahead.
Gerald, thank you so much for being on This Week in Money.
And thank you for having me.
My guest has been Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal. You can find it online at trendsjournal.com. He was speaking to us from historic Kingston, New York. Coming up, Robert Campbell, next on This Week in Money.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com. This Week in Money is archived online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com.
Welcome back. My guest is Robert Campbell, author of Timing the Real Estate Market and the Campbell Real Estate Timing Letter. You can find him online at realestatetiming.com, where there's a nifty website. He's speaking to us from gorgeous San Diego. Bob, welcome back to This Week in Money.
By the way, today's not so gorgeous. We're having there's a severe weather condition that's coming to San Diego County. It's called a drizzle.
Oh, or as we call it in Vancouver, liquid sunshine.
People in Southern California don't like the rain. I mean, we just don't, right?
Well,
when it rains, everybody stays inside.
If we stayed inside in Vancouver, you'd never be outside when it rained.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can you tell us about your book, The Campbell Real Estate Timing Letter, and your consultation service?
Oh, sure. I wrote the book, Timing the Real Estate Market, back in 2002. And it was based on a real estate timing discovery that I literally made, because I've been a stock market investor for 50 years, and I applied some of the same principles to real estate, and they worked exceptionally well. In fact, they work better in real estate than they do in the stock market. So I created this model, and I showed people how I do it in my book called Timing the Real Estate Market. And, all the indicators are there. It tells you how to analyze them, how to put them together so you can determine with a high degree of success which way housing prices are likely to go in any specific area during the next 3 to 6 months. That's as far as they see out, guys. 3 to 6 months. After that, you can't tell. So so I wrote that, and that turned into an investment newsletter I've been writing for 19 years called the Campbell Real Estate Timing Letter that uses those indicators and others to help my followers determine the best times to sell and the best times to buy.
Do you also consult real estate companies or consumers?
No, I really don't. I have people ask me to consult sometimes. Most of the time, I turn them down because I really don't enjoy that kind of work because it's so subjective. And I'm putting up with conventional thinking, people that are on different wavelengths than I am. And I've just found after 19 years, it's not it's not what I enjoy most, and enjoy most doing. So after you've been in business as long as I have, pretty soon you kind of get comfortable the way you want to run your business. And, mine certainly isn't, time consuming where I don't have, lots of other great things to do with my time. But it's just, I don't want to, the consulting and all that, it just takes the better part of a day. And all of a sudden now I can't go to the beach. Now I can't go to the gym. Now I can't go run the hills. Now I can't take my beagles for a walk, all that kind of good stuff here in Southern California. So,
I dare you to take your beagles for a run.
Oh, they run. We ran on the beach yesterday.
Do they run with you?
Oh, of course. If you saw my beagle.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking about Dachshunds. No, you're right. Beagles can run. Yes, Kate? Yeah.
I run in the soft sand in Del Mar. I run for 2 miles, interval train. I run as hard as I can, then I stop and catch my breath and keep running. 2 hours in the soft sand, and he's right behind me.
Okay, so there's a myth cleared up right there that beagles can't run.
Oh,
Bob,
he's fast. I have a standing rule in my house, everybody. Everybody's got to be in shape. If you're in shape, I'm covering all the expenses, the mortgage, the taxes, utilities, the food, the whole thing. It's all on me. The only requirement, everybody has to stay in shape. That not only includes the wifey, it includes the beagle. So we're a fit family.
Can stock markets continue to rise?
Well, of course, that's a possibility for sure. And a lot of that depends on how high is high is always like a really difficult to determine because it can keep going higher and higher and higher. Past norms. It depends that how inflated the bubble gets. Beyond the long-term norms, and before it snaps back. So, and how high can it go? Anybody watching this GameStop thing? That was a $5 stock 2 or 3 months ago. They ran it up to $500, and then it crashed down to $50. And it's all based on human psychology, fear and greed. So, trying to pick a point. All I do is follow trends in the real estate markets, and that allow my followers to have about a 3 to 6 month head start on everybody else as to whether something's good or bad is likely to happen. That's your edge.
Could the sky be the limit for a growing debt bubble?
Wow, these are such good questions, and I'm just going like, what's the answer? Who knows how much? Pretty soon, nobody wants the debt. Then the only people that are buying the debt are the Fed, to try to hold interest rates low. And they're buying it with printed money that they're throwing into the system. And the government's isn't even close to living within, it's got a $4 trillion budget deficit right now. So, that among other things, the Fed could be printing $4 to $6 trillion in cash every day, just to finance government expenditures. Because they're certainly not taxing us for it yet.
What could massive money printing and rising interest rates mean for the real estate market?
It would be terrible. It would be terrible. People think, real estate is a good inflation hedge. That over the course of about 125 years, nationally in the United States, U.S. housing prices have exceeded the rate of inflation by about 1% a year. That's it. stock market does better. But all of a sudden, if you start seeing rising inflation, rising mortgage rates, let's say they go from, they were hit a low of 2.65 in January, now they're up, 0.75 of a percentage point, 2 months later. So, at some point we're going to see a bottom in interest rates too. I wouldn't be surprised that, that all of a sudden this bull market in, falling interest rates since 1981, my God, that's 40 years later. It could be over. How low do we have to go? I don't think we're going to see negative interest rates. I think that idea is kind of come and gone.
Can comparisons be made between rising interest rates now and rising interest rates in the late 70s, early 80s?
Well, there is no difference, when you really look at it. Sure, certain other things drove it. The inflation in the 70s, in the 70s and the early 80s in the U.S., that was driven to a large degree by the Vietnam War that was 100% financed. People weren't taxed for. People don't get taxed for any wars. We'd all be broke. All the wars we're in. So that could have led to that. It's a money printing operation where I think the U.S. money supply is up 30% or more year over year. So that's huge. We're out in space right now, so far away from anything we've ever seen before. You're going to predict when what's going to happen?
It's looking like California's governor will be recalled. Does this make you bullish on California?
Yeah, it does. 'Cause I've lived here my whole life, and that guy's a real a-hole. As long as we get somebody, in there with that's reasonable to replace him. I think there's 2 million illegals down at the San Ysidro border ready to come in. So, it might not even matter here sometime soon.
How long before it takes that to happen and for you to pull out of San Diego?
It would have to get real bad. But I'm a confident person. I think that, the strong survive, and I'm strong. So I'll take my stand. If it comes down to that kind of stuff, so I'm not leaving San Diego. Where would I go? The only foreign country I'd move to would be Hawaii. And Hawaii is, that kind of thing. But I'm not leaving anywhere. I'm not leaving the beach, Jimmy.
Are California and U.S. real estate markets getting into bubble territory?
I would say yes.
What does that mean to the average person, the average consumer who's looking at buying a house? Is now not the time to do it? Wait for the bubble to blow up?
Okay, let's say that you don't have to buy, if we're talking timing only, that the reason that you'd like to time the market, that's your highest priority. Get the timing right. Is now a good time to buy? No.
Is the removal of COVID restrictions in a number of states good for the price of real estate in those states?
This whole COVID thing has switched things back and forth so fast. Everybody's running out of the cities, cities into the suburbs. Now everybody's super depressed because the city people are in the suburbs where nobody exists, and they're all taking drugs and committing suicide. When this thing's over, I wouldn't be surprised that, if at least half those people move back to the city because they're social animals.
Yeah, well, you see, it depends. Are you a big city person, a small city person, a rural person? People who grow up in a packed city have no idea how boring it is to live out in the countryside.
Oh, I have an idea. I have an idea how boring it is just to get 5 miles away from the coastline. No, absolutely. People that live in San Francisco that moved out for whatever reason, you know why they live in San Francisco? They like living in San Francisco. A big city atmosphere, whatever big city, you know what I mean? It's not taxation yet, like it is in like New York. I don't know what. Is New York the big is that the state with the biggest financial mess in the country? New York.
Are there any signs of the U.S. housing markets flashing a buy or selling sign?
Well, there's no sell signal right now. And of course, we're still on a buy. Heavy, strong market, everybody. So buy. In other words, and the momentum's increasing. Not only is our prices trending higher, but the rate at which they are trending higher has increased on an annual basis for 8 straight months. That's powerful, guys. I mean, will that last forever? No, not at all. But I'm just telling you what's happening right now. So if you want to buy right now, anybody wants to buy right now into this market, who knows how much higher it'll go. But if it was my money, I mean, and I'm going to take that risk, I'll tell you one thing, when the time to get out, I'm getting out because there's a lot more downside, in this market right now than there is upside.
Do real estate trends reflect fair market values?
Yes, like over the like let's say over the course of a complete cycle, both the up cycle and the down cycle, I think they are a true reflection of what absolute fair value, about 5 to 10% of the time. After that, they're even driven lower by fear or higher by greed. There's this imaginary line that we call fair value. Can anybody describe it exactly? No. But it's kind of like, kind of say, yeah, prices are high or low right now. They're high. Our prices low or high right now. They're low. So somewhere in the middle that fair value is. Can you pinpoint exactly? No. But I mean, it fluctuates from the highs to the lows, all based on, mostly based on market psychology.
Our real estate market cycle is an indicator of buyer and seller psychology.
Yes, absolutely. That's what drives the cycles, Jim. Fear drives the cycle. I mean, greed drives the cycle up. Fear drives it down. And that's the cycles. That's why people say, there's no more cycles, in the markets. It's just, run away to the moon all across the board. You know when there'll be no more cycles? When they repeal fear and greed, human nature.
I believe Russian scientists are working on that. For real.
Yeah, you know what? They're not going to be successful.
They're using CRISPR to get rid of soldiers' fear gene.
I know. But some things you can't get away from. You can't get away, individuals can't get away from the genetic makeup. I don't think so. Or is this coming in the future now where you can be anybody and look any way you want? Just here's the genetic code. Just go down to Walmart and get a series of shots.
What do you think the real rate of inflation is?
I would say anywhere between the range of 6 to 8 to 9%. Of course, the Federal Reserve Board reports 1.6, which is total BS, but just wanted to give you some comparison.
Well, of course, now, Bob, you and I remember rampant inflation back in the late 70s, early 80s. I was getting a cost of living bonus every 3 months on my paycheck. It was going up that much. Then somehow, somewhere, both the Canadian and U.S. governments agreed at the same time, well, let's take housing and energy out of the CPI, and then that way we can say we brought inflation down. Well, housing and energy still aren't in the cost of living index. Is that why you say, look, it's probably really 9%? Well,
I'm talking about right now. What's the rate of inflation? Yep. According to the government, they say here, the U.S. Fed says it's 1.6. Okay, look at this. These are human necessities. Let's say the price of housing's going up 10% a year. And what percent of a budget is related to housing costs? Down there, probably 40%, right? A big percentage. Okay, let's see, medical costs. They're going up anywhere between 5 and 10%. How much of your budget is that? The average consumer spends 20%. Okay, there's another big chunk, going up. And which includes medical, medicines and things like that. Cars are going up like crazy. Food's going up like crazy. I don't shop. My wife shops, but she goes, Bob, food is really going up fast. And I believe her, she's going like, this is crazy how much the price increases in this stuff. So a lot of things are going up. And what that comes down to, inflation for the average man that needs a home to live in, gas to put in his car, food to eat, and medical insurance when the need arises, his rate of inflation is between 6 and 9%.
What do you think is the best inflation hedge?
Well, long term, it's the U.S. stock market. U.S. real estate only performs at about 1% greater than inflation. California does better. It's in the 2 to 3%, which is a lot better, but it still doesn't compete with the stock market. But if you go back 100 years, remember when 100 years ago when you were investing in the stock market, Jim? It's outperformed inflation by 5.5 percentage points, which, from that statistic, it's the best inflation hedge ever. A lot of it depends, on inflation hedge, like right now. I mean, there's a lot of political turmoil. So you might say, could we get inflation? I mean, if inflation starts going high, getting up there, like it is in Turkey or something like that, it's like 15, 16, 17% or something. Pretty soon you start getting social unrest, and that starts coming along. I mean, we're a tinderbox for that anyway. What you probably want to own is physical gold and silver. Physical.
Are the rich getting richer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's just, and I'm not trying to make any judgment on it, but why they're getting richer? What's going up right now like crazy? Because, let me back up a second. How you get rich, the rich people got rich through their investments, not through the incomes that they made, and just put it in the bank or something. They have it all in investments. Look at today where the stock market is. The Dow's at 33,000 or so, all-time record high. Look where housing prices are in the United States, all-time record high. Where are they in California? All-time record high. In general, people that own those assets that have appreciated the most in the last year or 2 or 5 years are rich people. Poor guys don't own stocks. See, and that's another story about right now. So all of a sudden, I'm starting to hear some people starting to talk about taxation, that, now that Biden's president, he's got these big goals that they're going to start taxing people like crazy, tax the rich, tax everybody else, tax corporations, eliminate capital gain tax, everybody, estate taxes, anything to fund, a government that's broke. And so all of a sudden, that could have implications on the market. I've heard things like he might, eliminate capital gains. So, and so that might force people to go, look, I've already got a lot of money. I don't want to, be, like here in California at least, or in the States, it's taxed at 20%. I mean, the highest federal level is 36. And then also you could get California too at 13. I mean, all of a sudden you could sell your business, and as opposed to being charged, like sell it for $10 million, and instead of having to pay, that 20%, $4 million, you could end up paying $5 million. So that's a big difference. And real estate too. What if they eliminated capital gains? All of a sudden, we need more money. Or not eliminated, but that all real estate profits are taxed at ordinary income rates, not the low 20%. I mean, a lot of rich guys would get hurt by that too. They're the ones with the money.
Well, here's a little irony for the taxation crowd, by the way. Governments think, the more we tax, the higher the tax rate, the more money you make. They've never heard of the Laffer curve, and you have. But, for example, when the Canadian Conservative government lowered corporate taxes, so many head offices moved to Canada, the federal government's revenue went up, even though they had lowered taxes. So just raising a tax doesn't mean you'll make more money from it. Bob, we know it's tough to make big money. Is it even tougher to keep your money?
Absolutely. It's really, really hard. I mean, it's hard doing both, everybody. This is my pep talk for you guys, like rah. That the fact of life is that, and I speak from somebody that's been through a lot of wars at 74 years old. This is a tough game. 1, you're in competition with the markets, moving markets. 2, you're in competition with inflation. And 3, you're in competition with taxation. I've known really rich people, traders, to come off the Chicago commodities exchanges, and they said, okay, I was lucky. I was down here 20 years, 25 years, and I made myself $20 million. He was successful. All of a sudden, he wants to quit the business. Now, when he's not going to manage his own money. See, he puts it out to managers, and he said, my goal is that $20 million is to keep the purchasing power at $20 million, accounting for changing trends, taxation and inflation. I mean, it's hard, guys. Most of the guys that make big money that you read about, these are guys that invented something, like a Microsoft or a Steve Jobs. All of a sudden they have a product that goes, wow, and you're an instant billionaire. Not instant, maybe 10 years later you're a billionaire. How you sell these things. You gotta make something. I mean, are you gonna get rich off of a salary? No, you're not. And that's where all the big guys, the rich guys, are so vulnerable here. They're the ones with all the highly appreciated assets. And, if all of a sudden, there's an estate tax that they tax all that stuff, or, they limit deductions or whatever, that kind of thing. No capital gains. These guys are going to get slammed. I mean, is a little guy going to get slammed? No, not really. I mean, because he doesn't own anything. He doesn't have anything to lose. All he's looking for is to accumulate a lot of cash to be buying stuff, at or near the bottom when this thing all adjusts, one way or another. And it's going to adjust. That's a guarantee from studying history. It's going to adjust back to normal.
People striving for success, risk versus reward in life. Your thoughts?
You should pay as much attention, if not more, to risk than there is reward. However, let me say this. I've been self-employed my whole life. My dad was self-employed his whole life. We've all we're in the real estate business. There's no substitute for trial and error. And a lot of things you start off with, good ideas, don't work. And then, you may not lose a lot of money, but you wasted time doing it, and you don't know how many times it's going to take to be successful. It could happen the second time, it could happen the fifth time, but you got to be persistent and go, well, I don't want to work for anybody else. I only want to work for myself, which I think is just a magnificent. My attitude is, if you're good at what you do it for yourself. I've always felt like that. I've always been real selfish. I mean, not real selfish, but, you start with partners, and everybody's happy, and you make them a lot of money, and pretty soon you've made a lot of money with them, and pretty soon you don't need the partners. That's where you want to be.
Does making it and then losing it tend to happen more often than most people think?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't have an exact, that's hard to quantify because there's so many ways, definitions of it. But the fact remains that, for the last 50 years, that 95% of all people that hit the age 65 are not comfortable financially. Somehow they're like, they may not be, they're not living in the streets, but are they comfortable? No. They got to really watch ends meet. And only 5% are saying, I may have to watch end meets, but there's a lot of things I can do. That's how hard it is to get ahead and stay ahead in life, folks. But it's a magnificent challenge. It's magnificent. You don't have any other choice. You're looking for guarantees? Yeah, exactly. Eventually, if you get my age, you'll get over that dream.
How can people preserve their wealth during massive money printing?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Because you don't know which ways the things are going to go. And what I can think the best way to be in right now, let's say, for example, let's say somebody has $1 million. And $1 million is, most people don't have $1 million. He has $1 million to invest. And what would I do? At this point in time, I would get into a trend-following system where you've divided the asset classes between stocks, bonds, real estate investment trusts, commodities, and then cash too, and all of a sudden put long-term timing systems on all of them, and just trade them individually with 20% of your money. Because believe me, you're not going to lose money. And if you've made a lot of money and all you're trying to do is protect it, which a lot of rich guys should do, you do something like that. Because okay, I may make 10%, that's fine. I may lose 10%, that's fine. Because I've got all this money, that's all I need. But what I don't want to do is lose half my money. Now I'm not fine. So there are choices to be made, everybody, and you got to use your brain. So, okay, what do I do? Where do I put my odds? How do I adjust to whatever trends are coming our way? And you can do it. That's a decent choice. Hey, if I had $100 million, would I do that? That's all I would be doing. All I'm trying to do is keep my $100 million bucks. That's enough for me. I don't know about you. I mean, Jim, could you live on $100 million?
Well, that's what I spend on lunch, so I'm not sure.
I mean, $100 million might not be that much anymore, the way things are going, right?
Exactly.
We'll all be making $100 million.
Is trading the markets more of an art or a science?
I would say it's 80% science, 20% art.
Supplies of everything, including food, plastics, semiconductor chips, are running short. Prices are soaring. Are these signs of hyperinflation?
No, not yet. These are the signs of inventory shortages. For example, right now, did you see that cargo container ship that's sideways in the Suez Canal?
Oh yeah, the biggest container ship in the world.
That's not helping.
Well, yeah, I'm just going though. They had 40-knot winds, a sandstorm, zero visibility. What could go wrong taking a 220,000-ton ship that's basically one big sail and putting it through a narrow body of water? How smart was that?
So, that catastrophe aside, getting things from point A to point B it's a hassle right now. It takes more time than usual. Hey, I shop at Home Depot here in San Diego. I'm doing some fix-up things around my house. I'm pimping it out, and a lot of things are out of stock, out of inventory. Things that I'm looking at to buy. I mean, because one, the demand is really high right now because remodeling, the real estate market is red hot, and so everybody's remodeling Home Depot. They can't keep inventory in fast enough. It's selling before they get it in. So let's say you want to build something, you have a certain cabinet. All of a sudden you go, we're probably like a month and a half out on that. Well, that kind of sucks. I mean, you get these kind of delays and you need them before you can move on. I mean, that's not normal. I mean, normal is like 3 to 4 days or a week. So those are supply shortages, I guess. And all of a sudden the price of that stuff's gone way up. I mean, the price of lumber's up like 150 or 200% in the last 12 months. That's all shortage. I mean, the demand for lumber hasn't gone up 200% in the last year. Just think, you know what that's adding to the price of a new home here in the United States? Something like $24,000. I mean, that by itself right there should account for some of this, accelerating price appreciation. I mean, a lot of things you got to take into account replacement cost. All of a sudden every house in the United States is worth $24,000 more because it's built with lumber, which is a rare commodity.
Maybe your old house is worth more for the lumber than the house is worth. Just sell it in pieces.
That's what it'll come down to after the crash. What's worth more, the house on the lot, or the salvage value, right?
What have you got for us on health?
A lot of things, everybody. For those of you that have heard me on House Street before, health has always been my highest priority. I'm in the process. My latest challenge is a 4-month challenge. I want to lose 6 pounds of body fat from my gut, so I should be close to having six-pack abs again. And I've developed a formula, a system for doing it. I think it's going to take me 4 months to lose 6 pounds of fat. And here's what I do. I eat a low-carb diet, super low, 50 or less, grams a day, drink half a gallon of water a day, eat a lot of fat, a lot of protein, hamburgers and fish and chicken and stuff like that kind of stuff. And my goal is to lose a pound and a half, maybe 2 pounds every month for the next one, and see when I lose that 6 pounds of fat for my gut what I look like. And I think I'm going to look a lot better. So, I mean, that's what I want to do. But it's all about being super healthy. Aside from the weight thing, that's just a challenge I want to give myself. I give myself right now. I've been running in the soft sand at the beach, running hills. Just went back to the gym. I just went back to the gym for the first time in a year. I've had annual gym memberships for like 27 straight years. Then this COVID thing came and you needed to wear a mask, and I said, no thanks. So they moved all the gym equipment out to the first floor of a 3-car concrete parking structure with open sides, and it's mask optional. So only about 50% of the guys are wearing masks, and it's just fine. So I'm lifting weights again. Boy, is that. See, guys, look, for the guys out there, as you get older, you have to lift weights if you want to keep your muscle definition. And muscle definition, because you lose it. And then you have to lift weights, you have to eat protein so that the muscle's there. Because that's what keeps you young looking. Look, if you don't have muscles and all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, I'm 5'11" and I only weigh 145 pounds, you know what my reaction is going to be? You go, I don't have any fat. And you go, exactly. You look scrawny. Is that attractive? No. You need muscle. You need about 15 pounds of muscle and you'd look 10 times better. So you got to keep the muscle on, guys. So anyway, it's my latest experiment. I'm trying to get down to, and what I'm doing, and this is really important, you guys. What I'm doing, the diet I'm on, the lifestyle I'm on, it's not torture at all. I'm not going hungry every day. This is something I could do for the rest of my life. It does take a little effort. You just can't eat carbs, but that's fine. I'm not hungry. And there's certain other little tricks I've done to keep, and pretty soon, you can do that. And whether you try to lose 6 pounds of fat or 60 pounds, it's the same idea. I just don't need to lose 60. Some people say I don't even need to lose 6, but that's up to me, right?
Well, they said the average person during the pandemic and all the lockdowns was gaining about 2 pounds a month. I've lost 27 pounds. So what am I doing right?
Well, that's the sample size of one. I would say I put on a little bit of weight because, interestingly, I'll tell you something about weight loss and exercise. You lose more weight exercising, lifting weights, than you do running. Are they both good for you? Yeah. But if you had to pick one or the other, as far as weight loss, it'd be the lifting weights by a slight margin. Isn't that interesting? Everybody goes, cardio, 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 cardio. That's the only way to lose weight. That's not true.
Actually, reducing calories is for losing weight. If you overexercise, your metabolism actually goes down. I just finished doing a 3-hour seminar on metabolism. One of the reasons I've lost 27 pounds is I just chart how many calories a day I eat, and I have found that by having a meal every 3 to 4 hours, I eat less because I'm never, ever hungry.
Well, if that works for you, my friend, I'm all for it.
And stay the hell out of the bar.
Well, I'll tell you. There's lots of ways to be healthy and lots of ways to do it.
And you have to do what works for you.
Calories is I'm hungry all the time, and that's pain. I can't maintain that.
No, that's why I have something to eat about 200 calories worth about every 3 hours.
See, I don't count calories, and I keep my calories about the same. It's just the foods that I eat. Like, for example, I'll have Brussels sprouts, and I'll just have them dripping in butter. You know how many carbs are in that?
None.
Exactly. You know what that tastes like? It tastes like the finest dessert you ever had in your life.
Yes. Well, again, in the nutrition classes that I've been taking, sponsored by the government, protein and fats are so important to you. Proteins and fats.
I don't care how you lost it. It's hard to do.
Yes, it's all, but everybody's different, so there is no one way to do it. It's exactly like you would say with real estate. When we ask a real estate question, you would have to say, Jim, what's your income? What's your future income? What are your goals? Are you just looking for a place to live? Are you looking for your dream home? Are you looking to upgrade after 5 years? Those are all questions you would ask me, right?
As if everybody knows what the future holds. Yeah, I'm going to be upgrading. Let me look at my Century at a Glance planner, and let me tell you where I'm going to be in 20 years. You know what one of my favorite all-time expressions is, Jim? You want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. This is all great to talk about and stuff, but in reality, right?
Yes, of course.
You're going to be surprised.
Yeah, well, hey, any great general will tell you the best battle plan in the world will change the second the first bullet is fired.
Exactly. combat and confrontation. Because how long do you think the plan is in place before the actual shootings, after the shooting starts?
Foobar and snafu.
So, I mean, it's the nature of things. It's the nature of things.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that, that's the challenge right there. That's the challenge. You don't know in advance. All you can do is keep your ear to the ground and try to adjust to the changes faster than everybody else, and you stand the greatest chance to win financially. There it is.
Bob, how can people find out more about your book, newsletter?
Okay, they can go to my website. It's realestatetiming.com, realestatetiming.com, just like it sounds. I just redid the website, guys. For those of you that maybe heard me in the past, that website's only been up now like maybe a month or two, and I totally redesigned the header of it, where it says, real estate, whatever it says up there. You'll notice the colors, red, white, and blue, and that's the kind of patriot I am. I mean, but I've always liked those colors. And go there. You can read about my book. You can read about my timing letter. You can read a sample of it if you'd like. There's a way to click there, and you can find out about what I do. And if you're interested, you can give me money, and I'll give you all the info you paid for.
Bob, thank you so much for being on This Week in Money.
I enjoyed it a lot, Jim. You take care, okay?
My guest has been Robert Campbell, publisher of the realestatetiming.com newsletter. He was speaking to us from San Diego. And that wraps up our show for this week. We'd like to thank our guests, Ross Clark, Gerald Celente, and Robert Campbell. And thank you for listening. If you have any questions for the show or our guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Now stand by for a company showcase update from American Manganese CEO and President Larry Reaugh. I'm Jim Goddard. We'll be back next week with more This Week in Money.
Comments made on This Week in Money are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. This Week in Money is a production of How Street Media Incorporated. Executive producer is Tom Allen. Welcome to Company Showcase, an advertising feature on HowStreet.com.
I'm Jim Goddard. I'm speaking with Larry Reaugh, CEO and President of American Manganese. Welcome back to Company Showcase, Larry.
Glad to be here, Jim.
Larry, you had 2 news releases this past week. What was in them?
Well, 2 excellent news releases. And the first one was an MOU that we have done with Italvolt, and they are building a big Gigafactory in Italy, and so we feel that this is a very timely time to get engaged with them, and I think the size of that is 45 gigawatts. That's a big battery, and they're going to move up to about 74 gigawatts, so they'll be the largest in Europe, according to them. They're designing the factory now. We will be contributing to adding our recycling plant onto that design. So it's all looking very good. So you wouldn't know it from the reception we got in the market. I think we only moved up about 12 cents that day and down ever since. And yesterday we put out a press release about the Korean patent that we applied for, and we've got the notice of allowance from the Korean Intellectual Property Office. So that's a big feather in our cap. And I'd just like to point out that after we get the other patents in places like Japan, China, Australia, those types of jurisdictions, we will have about 14 patents. And that's a lot to be said for a small company like American Manganese. And most of those patents will be, 8 of them will be in the recycling area. So that is excellent news. You'd think that the stock would have gone up, but when you've got paper created out of thin air and sold into the market, it makes it tough to do so, and it makes it twice as tough when you've got uncertainty in the market, and we certainly have that.
But we couldn't be happier. One thing I'm not worried about is that we're going to end our days in a black hole. The truth of the matter is that we have an advanced process for recycling batteries. It's being recognized all over the world, and I expect to see more MOUs and maybe even a joint venture sometime in the future here. I mean, we're working on it, and I can't say when or even state for surety that it's going to happen, because it depends on markets as well as our ability to deliver. So, but it's a great time around here. I mean, we can't complain about anything, Jim. Since mid-January, we've moved up considerably, made profits for people that in the 1,000 to 1,200% range. And those that took down private placements at 20 cents and 25 cents back over the last 2-3 years are, making double that when they cash in their warrant. They're up at least 2,000% at a certain period in time, but certainly no less than 1,500%. So I don't think our shareholders are complaining at all. As a matter of fact, we get a lot of slaps on the back over that. The only time we get ignorant responses is from predators. And, they don't like me doing podcasts, number one. They don't like the releases. They call them, I can't even remember the name. It was so unattached to what the release was all about. But we try to do a press release a week if we can. We certainly do podcasts a week. We do interviews all over the place. We get another 30 or 40 interviews with other groups, and so we keep ourselves prominent in the eyes of the investors. And I think I got to congratulate the shareholders for sticking with it. Those that bought the stock, some of them certainly have made a lot of money with me in the past. And, I've had quite a few winners, actually, that were up in the 1,000 to 2,000% range over the last 4 decades. So it's not like this is my first rodeo. And, but I'm certainly you certainly have to adapt to the type of investor that you have today. It's not the same as it used to be. We used to do massive mail-outs and all kinds of things to keep the attention on the company. But now it's all social media, and we're still getting a lot of social media, pumps, whatever you want to call them. Certainly information on the company and supporting the company. But right now, the reaction seems to be a little bit small, but this is the time that you start looking at picking a spot to buy stock. I mean, if anything else has happened, certainly the company has advanced almost to full maturity, so we can, you can feel comfortable owning the AMY shares. Now, I would just like to, there's not much more I can say beyond that. Everything else is working away. We should start reporting news on other projects next week sometime. So that will be, people will be looking forward to that. And I did mention that we put the spin out on hold. It looks like because of regulations, the rewards in the spin out are very slim. So we're going to investigate that. We think that now, with the coming gold market and copper market and everything else, along with our recycling and the manganese work we're doing for the Department of Defense, there's going to be enough good news to that you'll benefit more from the mining assets by leaving them in AMY than you will spinning them out, because there's just not a big shareholding out there for the people that end up with the stock in the new company, in the new spin out. So, I look at it and I think, holy God, you could almost buy the shares that you want in another company for pocket money that you're going to get out of the spin out. So I think spin-outs are going to die out. There's no incentive to do them, no incentive to management, no incentive to the shareholders, and the extra expense of creating another company and then maintaining another company doesn't warrant going ahead with the spin-out at this time. That's only my opinion, but we'll make the final decision here in the coming weeks, so stay tuned to that. And I'm sorry to say that is one of my ideas. It looked good when we were down at 20 cents, but now we're up at over $1.50. It's not looking like it's a wise decision. So, and for the reasons I've already stated. Anyway, Jim, I wish you a great weekend, and I wish our shareholders a great weekend. I wish that we could have said that we'd gone up 20% or 30% on the fantastic news we had this week, but we didn't. And if there's reasons for that, I don't have to repeat myself for that. So that's my podcast for the day.
Larry, for people new to American Manganese, what's the company all about?
American Manganese is a critical metals company that really started seeking its future in the world by getting manganese projects in North America. We finally settled on one of the biggest deposits in the U.S., but very low grade. And the attraction there was the U.S. Bureau of Mines had worked on it for since 60 years, and so that was 1920s, First World War. And they could never economically develop a process that was working, but they did enough background work, saved us a lot of work, and we moved it on to where we were able to produce electrolytic manganese metal at comparative price costs to China. But the price of the manganese had dropped. The metal had dropped significantly, and it would have taken 12 or 13 years to pay back, so we shut the project down, and we were kind of dormant for the next 4 to 5 years. And then in 2016, we did a proof of concept for actually recycling batteries, and that was a screaming success, and here we are today, almost with the total solution in hand and money in the bank and able to move forward.
How can people get a hold of the company, and where are you traded?
You can get a hold of the company. You can go to our website, AmericanManganeseInc.com. We're traded on the Canadian Venture Exchange under the symbol AMY. We're traded on the QB board in the U.S. under the symbol AMYZF. And we're traded in Frankfurt under the symbol 2AM. You can get more information by phoning the office directly at 778-574-4444, or you can email me at LREAUGH@AMYMN.com.
Larry, thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome.
I've been speaking with Larry Reaugh, CEO and President of American Manganese. I'm Jim Goddard. Our conversation took place on March 26th.
Comments made on Company Showcase are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Company Showcase is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.